wait a minute, it's already there. Someone just gave me permission to just let it out,
To be you.
to be myself.
Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode of Talent Agent Talk, where we are bringing you educational lessons and behind the scenes real life stories from film and television. I'm your host, Jason Lockhart, and also a talent agent. And actually, if you have a story that you would like to pitch to us directly, feel free. It's talentagenttalk@gmail.com. Again, that's talentagenttalk@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your story and your lesson learned. But today we've got a really great one from a guest that I'm really excited about, Mr. Jose Miguel Vasquez.
Oh man, thank you for having me. This is amazing.
Dude, it's always a pleasure to be in your presence, let
thank
alone
you.
sit here and get to spitball at anything educational.
Absolutely, man. This is a treasure right now. It's surreal. I get nostalgic very quickly, and I'm remembering so many different moments in our journey, and just going back to that very first meeting that we had in your office when you first were settling in, and you just you've got this way of being, brother, where at first it's very risky that someone could be like, oh, he's an agent. I could tell he's an agent, but your soul, man, your heart. I discovered a good 5 minutes in that you're a lot more than what the cover shows. The book is a good book. The cover is, you got to go beyond the feel of like the go-getter, the hustler, which is good. It's important. You got to have that. And so sitting there in that office, I remember that day looking around all the things that make you who you are on the outside, and we're just giving me a preview of who was in the inside. And it's been an honor to be on this journey with you, man. It's been absolutely an honor.
Well, thanks, man. I mean, I can say the same. And it's not just you, it's your whole family. Your whole family is a joy to be around. And as I said on an earlier episode, it's like very easy to root for good people, for good humans.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was just pitching your daughter like crazy the other day. It's just,
man.
it's wonderful.
Thank you.
I know what you guys bring to the world, which is a lot of warmth and kindness. And I'm excited to be sitting here with you.
Yeah.
This is not just about soul, but also about educational
For
lessons.
sure,
but
Yeah,
I could be emotional too, as well. Like, I think rooting for good people is very easy, but finding them is very hard.
Agreed.
So
Yeah.
let's talk about The Liberator today,
I love that.
because you are one of the leads, and this is a giant Netflix project, and it was a really exciting moment in our journey.
Yeah.
But I'd like to go back to the beginning with the audition. What do you remember about kind of the beginning of you in this project?
Oh man. At first glance, these emails look the same. I've got the usual names at the top. It's you, Madison, Kelly. And I'm like, okay, cool. But it's always, once you start reading where this might be filmed, Poland, and who's bringing this thing to life. Writers like Jeb Stewart, who wrote Die Hard, The Fugitive, produced by guys that worked on Star Wars, Star Wars, and Lord of the Rings. You start to get excited. I got very excited. I'm like, okay, hold on. I got to be careful. Can't get my feelings, to get in the way.
Allowed to be
At
excited.
first, I was like that. I was like, all right, I got to breathe that in.
We get excited for you,
Yeah,
too.
well, that's what happens. I usually let the people around me get very excited. My wife, God bless her, she saw it and she immediately started. I told the story to Jesse. I immediately heard her say, all right, how are we going to do this if you end up going to Poland? I was like, sweetheart, I'm just reading the breakdown. But she already knew, Jason. My bride already saw it.
Great problem to have.
It is an amazing problem to have. I mean, the woman saw it on the horizon before it was even visible. And obviously, I get to work. I read the breakdown, and Gomez was a character on the page where, there were some guidelines they gave in the breakdown, and breakdowns could be tricky. They can be very helpful and also very confusing if, you could do a whole workshop on breakdowns. But long story short, I did that first tape, and it was like 7 scenes or whatever it was. It was long. It was a good set of scenes. And I felt like I had to find this guy, and I figured out who this guy is. And I took some of the breakdown stuff, and the breakdown stuff, they kept punching at John Leguizamo. And I was like, all right, well, let me find John Leguizamo.
No, we need Jose Miguel Vasquez.
That's exactly what happened at the callback. I think you remember the notes the Finn Cannons gave. They're like, "We feel Jose's got this. Like it's in him to play this." And they mentioned him, but this time it was more of a jumping off point. This time in the note, it said, this is like a John Leguizamo, but we feel Jose's got this in him. This kind of humor that is cuts deep, but also he's the kind of guy that when he's serious, you don't want to mess around because he means business and he needs to get it done. And so that unlocks something in me, man. And
Confidence?
absolutely. This awakening of, wait a minute, it's already there. Someone just gave me permission to just let it out,
To be you.
to be myself. And I get emotional about it because it was something my wife and my son, who, Matthew's the oldest of three, and he's been the very close, companion to this whole thing. And when he saw the gift it is to hear someone say, you're more than enough, man. You've been created to just shine exactly as you are. And then he saw it happen, and he helped me in all the elements of the audition, because it's Trioscope is a whole new different thing. You film differently. So the audition had a little bit more liberties with how far out we could come out and create the environment. And so anyway, the callback lasted about 5.5 hours in our little studio. My wife got involved. She got in there too, and it was
Wow, I didn't realize it was 5 hours.
yeah. If you remember, they gave me two sides. The first ones were, please do this, the first set of sides, and the second set of sides were like, if you have time. And I remember, it was either you or Melody at the time were like, do them, do the.
Why
second
would
side.
you not?
Right. I mean, for me, it was
Somebody
like
else. Your competition's probably gonna.
absolutely like you. There was never a debate. Like, yeah, obviously we're gonna do, and the scenes were amazing to do. Like, how do you not take that opportunity? So anyway, we did them, and that's why it was about 5.5 hours.
Well, then, you remember the booking? Do you
Yeah.
remember the news?
Oh man, it was shock, and it was. I had to sit down. It's the only audition I've ever, or rather, the only booking I've ever like sat down for, because the joy of it, the thrill of it. But then it was like, oh man, I'm gonna be away from home for 2.5 months, and the impact that has on life, and you start to realize who's around you and the kind of team you have, not just my amazing team and you and our agents, but my family, and how they wonderfully responded to all of it. Everyone started to do things they normally didn't do, so that I can go do this thing and create the show that honors our fallen heroes. I mean, it was just beautiful, man. I mean, it was that the day of that booking, and Matthew remembers too, because I was in the middle of potentially working on a film in Florida, which I ended up booking that as well. I don't know if you
I
remember,
do remember
that
that.
whole dance with my Florida agent and seeing how that's going to work out. It cannot conflict with this thing. Great problems to have. I mean, absolutely wonderful problems to have. And to see it all fall into place the way it did. I got to do that movie, and like a week later, I was on a plane going to Poland. I mean, God is good, as I always say.
So take me to Poland.
Yeah.
Is there any specific memory or someone
Yeah.
that you worked with where you were like, this is going to last with me forever?
Yes. So I have to shout out Bradley James. He was the star of the show. He's a great human. I met him. Well, I met Martin first. Martin also. I mean, Martin had a later night. His flight was longer. And anyway, I met him first the night of my arrival, and then I met Bradley that next morning. But Bradley, he just took me in right away. Right away. He was just like embrace. I remember he sent me a DM on Instagram back when I was still on Instagram, and he reached out right away, like, "Hey, Gomez."
Didn't you guys go to dinner and stuff before you shot?
Oh yeah, they gave us a solid week where it was just the three of us, like bonding. We went to the shooting range together. We had dinner all the time. We had walks and talked, and we had meetings, and we created a very organic bond. We were brothers, absolutely. It took us like a day, which was obviously, and I heard this from producers after, like, it's always a gamble. You don't know if people will hit it off, and I mean, we hit it off just wonderfully. Martin's had a great journey in his life, and kind of like me, a very difficult upbringing, and so we kind of really met there. Bradley had some beginnings in Florida, so there was a lot of personal stuff that really aligned, that you could see like the great God that we have and the universe, just kind of all of it aligned so beautifully that it led to what you see. You know, there's a genuine brotherhood that the three of us were able to kick off, and then all the supporting cast started to come in after that first week. If we have time, I'd like to tell you the story of how I thought I was going to be sent home that first week.
Tell me. Yeah.
So I had the beautiful opportunity to wake up very early every day because, you know, I unlike home at that time was hard. I had three little kids, and it was hard to get up early and get my workout in. It'd be very kind of sporadic to have that routine. But in Poland, it was like, all right, I got up early. I went to do my workout, and I had the gym upstairs in the hotel. And so on
Yeah,
Friday,
your only responsibility was to
focus,
show up and be an actor,
right.
to be Gomez. That was
and
your responsibility.
and to get ready because it was going to be a very physical role. So I was, you know, just doing my thing. I got up, and this was that Friday. On that Friday, I had a makeup call at 8:30 a.m. So by 6:30, I was already well into my workout, and I was doing box jumps, and it was this wooden box. So I'm doing these box jumps, and on my second set, I was fatigued more than I realized, and I was jumping a good, I don't even know what it was. It was high. Anyway, slipped, and I cut my shin. And at first I was like, oh man, that's, you know, the adrenaline made me feel like just a scrape. So I look down and I can see some, you know, some white tissue. I'm like, oh, dang it. I'm gonna go clean this up and I'll continue. Well, then I start to bleed like a lot. And the lady at the front noticed, and she said, all right, hey, in her best English, because obviously Polish, and she's like, not good. And so she sat me down and she looked at it and she said, bone. She could see my bone. So I had exposed my bone. And anyway, long story short, I had to call my producers and be like, I'm so sorry. I can't believe this happened. I had to go to a clinic, and I got stitches and all this stuff. And the whole time I'm thinking, I'm going to get fired. And then I got to make that call to Jason and my family that I completely messed this up just because I was doing box jumps. But luckily, the worst thing that happened is it just became a really good joke. I mean, I think I got 4 or 5 stitches or 8 stitches. I don't even remember now. I think it cost like $80 to get the stitches. Everybody had a good laugh at watching me tell the story of how I arrived to this clinic not knowing who to talk to because every Polish person there did not speak English. And you can imagine me holding up my phone to this window, trying to use the Google Translate to tell this lady and showing her my bloody leg. Like, I'm not okay. I just need to get in there. And so it wasn't until this producer got there that she could help me translate all of it, man. It's just it was super humbling and made me realize that I'm truly here by the mercy of others and the greater grace of the divine. And I made it through. Thank God they didn't get rid of me.
Oh man, if you're like me and you love these booking stories, then you know that to actually book the job, it starts and ends with a good audition. And Get Scenes Improve Your Audition Bootcamp is coming up. It's a 2-week event that spans over 6 workshops, all online, and we bring in 4 different casting directors to help us do this thing. We go over theatrical auditions and commercial auditions and give you different tactics and strategies to improve those self-tapes so you can do exactly what we're talking about on this show and book the job and actually get on set. So this is only $2 a day. $28 total, everyone. And if I can tell you a little secret, there's a discount in the pinned comments. So head there right now, and I hope to see you at our Improve Your Audition Bootcamp.
Well, I also believe that you're a very positive person, and that could have happened to somebody else and been a train wreck, and they could have self-sabotaged and almost sent themselves home.
Yeah.
But you persevered.
Yeah. Well, I just kept laughing at the whole thing. I kept
Huge.
just thanking everybody. I literally gave a hug to the producer as she walked. When I saw her and I said her name was Sylvia, and I knew she was English speaking, I was like, Sylvia. And I just hugged her, and I'm like bleeding. Like, I'm so happy to see you right now. This poor lady cannot understand that I cut this thing. Anyway.
That's huge. That's a life lesson, you know?
Absolutely.
To persevere and to keep going through. I have a old yellow Mustang convertible, and the top broke while I was just running an errand, and it starts raining. And I'm just like,
oh my gosh.
Of course. And instead of getting infuriated, I just started laughing. I mean, here I am just driving around getting drenched, and my car's getting ruined.
Yes.
You know, like, It's how you choose to respond.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, taking in this entire project for you, because I really want to help educate our audiences and to any actors that are watching. I mean, this guy was a lead in a huge Netflix film, huge Netflix project. What would you say was one of the largest takeaways from this that you think might benefit other people? Something that you learned that could help others? And maybe we even touched on it already. I don't know.
There's always the kind of vague what we said. It's a little vague when you tell people be yourself. That's important. Find confidence, but it's to have a very tangible faith in who you are. And what I mean by that is in every single moment that you communicate with others, that you're just listening, to enter this space of breathing where this moment is it. Like, I don't have to do anything. I could just really listen. Just take in the room, take in the people, pay attention to the details. We do all this training as actors, the Meisner technique, for example, where you learn to really just take people in and you make it about the other person. That stuff is not just for the sake of being a great actor, because then you're on set in a foreign country where some people do not speak English, and all you're left with is body language. All you're left with is the nonverbal cues, the silences, where you have to figure out if people can take a joke or not, if they need a little pick-me-up, And one of the things that I've discovered, because as you know, I've gone from being, co-star, medic number 1, to then being like number 3 on a
Top
call
build.
sheet. And what's interesting is when you're there, you get to interact with a lot more people, and a lot more people look to you as a leader to set the tone for the day. So saying good morning to people, just being a kind person, setting that standard of we're going to have a great day today, and that becomes this like reciprocation with others. But it always begins with this faith in who I was in that moment. And I'm here for a reason. I'm the guy they chose. And I'll tell you this, that that didn't happen right away. In fact, at the table read, now mind you, this table read was in front of AE execs and Netflix executives. And for whatever reason, out of nerves, I don't know what it was, I didn't put on the Mexican accent for the table read. We read through a lot of the script that was mainly the three of us, because the table read was only Bradley, Martin, and myself. And, one of the producers after the table read, he comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, Jose, are you going to do the accent, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And in my head, I was like, "Why didn't I? Like, these execs will probably not even hear or see anything until we start sending out dailies." They were probably worried, nudging Chad, the producer, like, "Hey, is he going to do the accent or what?" Because that's kind of important. But again, that was just because I was so in me, so nervous and so anxious and so focused on me, that it was just a simple thing to realize, like, it's Gomez. Just
Be Gomez.
Just be Gomez. That's it.
I think the great lesson that I'm hearing from all this too is about your ability to be present. I'm a big Patsy Rodenberg fan, and she talks in her book, The Second Circle, about being present and being aware, and how, like, in prison, prisoners are very aware of everything. Why? Because they have to be. And I think if actors can also just be very aware humans,
Yep.
you will say hi to those around you, because you're going to notice them looking at you. You're going to be aware of the producers. You're going to be aware of your fellow actors.
Yep.
And I think just being aware and being present in the moment is such a wonderful life lesson and a great lesson for actors. So I love that you touched on that. And
It changes everything.
I know that that's something that that makes you valuable, because you're like that as a human walking the earth.
Well, you mentioned my family earlier, and they're the ones that taught me that in the real, like, as life goes, major trial and error. And every time there was an error, it's because I was too busy not being present, too busy stuck up here, trying to just do what makes me feel good. And
a good actor can't do two things at once. You can't be thinking about, did I say all that correctly, or am I going to mess this up, or what time's lunch? You can't be having those thoughts while also serving your partner.
Right.
And
And that's the
thinking in
word.
character.
That's the word.
You can't be having the two thoughts simultaneously.
To serve. That's it. And that's the main drive as to why be present, so I can serve better.
So if you could serve the world with the greatest role of all time, aka your dream role, you got one? What would it be?
Yes. Right now, anything Lord of the Rings, man.
Okay.
I would love to be, especially, I know they're making a bunch of new ones. But I think it's this element of what those films and that the lore has done for my faith journey, my human journey, and all of it, and the kind of the effect that fantasy has on people and the kind of conversations that can spin off of, talking about, for example, a character like Aragorn. I don't know that I'll ever play an Aragorn type and on Lord of the Rings. I mean, I'd take it. I would love it. But it's such a complete character where he's a warrior, he's a sovereign, he's wise, he's a lover, he's a romantic, he's a leader, he's a brother, he's a friend. It kind of encompasses all those things. And this is a twofold answer for you. That's very fantasy, but I have to also mention George Bailey. If I could ever play a George Bailey kind of It's a Wonderful Life character,
That's a great role for you.
I would love that one. I would love that one. That movie, any time of the year I watch, just shakes me up the right way and reminds me really what this whole thing is about.
I actually get teary-eyed at the end of that movie every single time.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Never
doesn't matter how many
fails.
times I watch it.
Oh, it breaks me every time.
Dude, well, it's so great having you here today.
Thank you,
And if
Jason.
you've seen other episodes, you win a free car for being here.
Yes.
I've got this awesome
Can I
Star
get the
Wars
yellow-
bag from
oh,
Sarah.
Amazing.
Feel free to reach in there without looking, watch
Okay.
your mic, and pick out your prize.
Okay. Let's see. It's the force on this one. Oh, this one. This one. What is this? No way.
You got the Batmobile. I knew there was a Batmobile in there, and I was just waiting to see who would get it.
No way. That's
Wow,
amazing.
dude.
Okay, I'll take it. Yep. There you go.
Tuck this thing
Thank
away.
you. Thank you. This is amazing, man.
Well,
I really
thank you.
appreciate this.
Of course. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me. Hi to your whole family, who I hope are watching. Love all of you. Just 5 rock stars.
Yeah. Love you guys. Love you, family. I hope you enjoyed this great conversation with this amazing human.
Well, and thank you to all of our audience watching and to any actors out there. I hope that you got something out of today. That's why we're doing this. And I really hope that magical things happen for you today. Thanks so much. And thank you to Jesse Malinowski and Get Seen for producing Talent Agent Talk. And we'll catch you next time.
Thanks again so much for watching. And if you loved that story and were interested to learn more about the casting office that actually cast that show, then I have some really cool news, because our sister show, Get Seen Unscripted, actually had them on the show. So you'll see it right here. Do not miss that episode. Over an hour on one-on-one with that casting director, talking about things that they like, don't like, to help give you the edge in your next audition. So thanks again so much for tuning in and watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you on the next one.